You know, there's few people I meet who really, really impress me. And one man I met a month or two ago by the name of Brian Mast. He's running for Congress in Florida's 18th congressional district, happens to include my Florida home, by the way. And I very much want Brian Mast to win the Republican primary and then win the general election and help to represent me and other rational human beings. Brian Mast, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing well, sir. I'm in a hard-fought battle every single day of my life down here.
Well, first I want you to tell everybody a little bit about your background. You were in combat. You lost both your legs. You fought back. Go ahead. You explain your story.
Well, I was a bomb technician, basically in our highest level of special operations. The short version of my story is that I found one bomb too many while I was serving in Afghanistan. And after I learned to walk again, went through some recovery at Walter Reed Army Medical Center, I went back to work with 3 different federal agencies in counterterrorism. I finished up my degree up at Harvard with a concentration in economics and also a minor in environmental studies. And I went and served with the Israeli military for a stint, which was one of the honors of my life, and how you and I ended up becoming friends. And now I'm a candidate for Congress, just trying to do the right thing, trying to represent our conservative values, our conservative principles.
And this is essentially Allen West's old district, isn't it?
This is largely that. This is where Allen West lost to Patrick Murphy back there, and now the seat is being vacated by Patrick Murphy, who's running for Senate, very likely against Marco Rubio or Carlos Baruf.
Now, you are in a crowded field, and you're running against some people who have a lot of money. I know I saw a hell of a lot of signs down there, aren't you?
That is the truth of it. You know, I am running a race really against a quintessential insider, you know, one of those insider Goliaths versus the outsider. And the way that turns out is that my opponent, a woman who's basically in a statistical tie with me, even though she's outspending me 3-1, she is the wife of our state Senate president. And not that that makes you an insider. What I think really makes her an insider is that they act as a political power couple, essentially operating a pay-to-play racket that funnels hundreds of thousands of dollars into her campaign because of his position. And that's what makes it so distressing. Luckily, I've been in a few fights before. I don't know, maybe I better be careful how I word that. I don't want the far-left media to say I'm trying to threaten anybody.
But, Brian, when I was down there, she's completely deceiving people who aren't focused on this election. Again, we have another case where an establishment, big government Republican uses the word conservative. She has the word conservative on all her signs.
And, you know, this is kind of the same thing that you see the Obama administration doing and the Clinton, what she's doing constantly. They use these words, and you know they're actually operating in the exact opposite fashion. And it's though they know that they can just pull the wool over people's eyes by doing it, unfortunately, and that's the way they operate. And it ends up giving everybody else a bad name because their actions do not reflect the label that they're putting on themselves.
You know, we say all the time, what can we do? What can we do to make a difference in this country? What can we do? I mean, you gave part of your body for this country. Now you're running for office because you're concerned about the direction of this country. You have a wonderful wife. You have wonderful children. You are extremely active. You didn't let this get you down. As a matter of fact, you're stronger and more energetic than ever. You're exactly the kind of person we want in the United States House of Representatives. I'm asked all the time, Mark, what can we do? What can we do? If people all over this country, if they want to assist you, where do they go? You have a website?
You better believe it. They go to my website. That's mastforcongress.com. That's me, mast, like on a sailboat, mastforcongress.com. And also on my social media, they can find me on Facebook and Twitter, /Brian Mast FL. Those are the easiest places to find me.
mastforcongress.com. You can make a contribution. Doesn't matter where you are, America, and particularly this district. Give us some of the names of some of the towns in this Florida district.
Well, a lot of people, vacation in many of these towns that are part of my district. You have Palm Beach Gardens, you have Stewart, you have Fort Pierce, you have Port St. Lucie, some really beautiful areas along the East Coast, the Treasure Coast of Florida. And this is an area that is beautiful as it is. It's actually being destroyed by some horrible government policies. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers is destroying our water by releasing toxic waters, further proof that, really you don't want the federal government operating exerting control over your waters, because
they have released these toxic water and algae out of the lake into all these tributaries and into the ocean.
It's exactly right.
It's crazy.
But they don't care. They do not care what they're doing, and that's the problem. When you give the federal government control over your local issues, they are not going to care. And, this is one of those issues that, I was offered money by what I would call insiders. And it's not that those insiders weren't nice people, but I simply won't let it appear that I'm even purchased by anybody. And I gave these insiders their money back when they gave it to me. And I like to think that that's the difference. You got to show what you believe in your actions.
The primary in Florida, the primary that affects you is August 30th. Is that correct?
That's exactly right. Well, early voting starts down here in Florida on August 20th. So we've got about 10 days of early voting. Actual primary is August 30th. And after that, on to another tough general election race.
It's just outrageous to me how these rhinos, they lie. How these ruling class Republicans... I mean, I was appalled. I'm driving down there with my Julie. We're looking around going, holy mackerel, this woman has this the conservative candidate. You're the conservative candidate. She's the rhino candidate.
That's exactly, the
crazy.
Quintessential insider. But isn't that so often the battle today? I mean, I'm sure you and I can agree. There's good Republicans and bad Republicans, just like there's some good Democrats and some bad Democrats. It's more so those that are on the inside doing everything they can to protect their power versus everybody else, versus the person that just out there trying to be represented by their one vote. That's the real big battle that I see out there, insiders versus everybody else.
Now, in addition to serving in the United States military, you mentioned in passing, I just want the audience to know, that you also spent a little time with the Israeli military. Tell us about that.
I did. That was something that was the honor of my life. I learned so much about Israel, and the way this came about is as I was studying up at Harvard, you go back to the summer of 2014. This was when Operation Protective Edge was going on, one of the most recent Gaza war. And up in Boston in general and around Harvard, there was a lot of the BDS movement going on. There was a lot of anti-Israel protests going on. And one night I was out in the Boston Commons just enjoying time with my family, and some anti-Israel protesters, largely Arab males draped in Palestinian flags, started harassing me for being a U.S. service member, which I tell people it doesn't take a genius to figure out I'm a soldier. I don't have any legs, and I usually wear a baseball cap that says Army Rangers on it, so most people can figure that out. And these guys were harassing me about that, and I think it's because of the parallel that they see between U.S. service members and Israeli service members, that we fight for the same things: freedom, democracy, human rights for all people. We don't fight because of the person on the dangerous end of our rifle that we hate them. We fight because of the people that we love and that we serve back home, and I think that's what they recognize. That's why they started harassing me. And that night I told my wife, I said, I don't know what it's going to look like, but I'm going to find a way, and I'm going to go and show my support for the nation of Israel and everything that they represent. And that's how I did it. I went and served alongside the military.
I want to strongly encourage everybody in this audience, take 30 seconds and go to mastforcongress.com, mastforcongress.com. I want you to look at my friend Brian Mast's family. It's a beautiful family. I want you to see what he's been up to see what he's accomplished, to see what he's doing, to see what he looks like. This man, you're such a remarkable human being. I really believe that, Brian. And I want people in this district to know how important this Republican primary is. You're going to just send another insider in, and you're going to send a real American hero. I mean,
thank you, sir.
People all over the country, they don't have an opportunity to vote for somebody like you. The people in this particular district, the 18th District of Florida, they do.
Yeah, I don't know if you have to go to break soon, but I would love to tell you, just a quick story about what I really see as what we're fighting against.
Well, let me go to the break, and then I'll have like 3 or 4 minutes after the break. Can we do that?
Absolutely.
All right. Hold on. Don't hang up. This guy is absolutely unbelievable. Will you do me a favor? Do me a favor. I don't ask for favors. Do me a favor. Go to mastforcongress.com, M-A-S-T for Congress.com. This guy is unbelievable. Now, we're going to come right back, and then we're going to finish our interview with him. Talking to Brian Mast, war hero. He's running for Congress in Florida's 18th District. Mastforcongress.com, MAST4Congress.com. Don't believe the sign with a woman on there that says she's the conservative. This is the new trick of the Republican D.C. establishment, to call themselves conservatives and run as outsiders. She's the opposite of both those things. Mast is an outsider. He's a conservative. He's one of us. And on top of that, he really is a war hero. Go ahead. You're going to tell me a story, Brian.
Well, this simply, it speaks to it was really a turning point moment for me to just realize how important this fight is that we're in. Not long ago, I was given an invitation to come speak to some members of the House, members of the Senate up there in Washington, and I wasn't supposed to lecture them on policy. I was asked to give them a motivational speech and tell them a little bit about the night that I lost my legs in Afghanistan. And I told them a little bit about that moment when I was injured, but I told them more so about what inspired me when I came home, and that was the men and women that I woke up alongside in Walter Reed Army Medical Center. When I was injured, there was 30 to 40 men and women a month waking up very similar conditions to myself, missing 3 limbs, 4 limbs, blind, burned, combination of many injuries. And after I started speaking to them, I started telling them about the amazing things that these fellow injured service members were doing, the way they were back to work full-time, starting their own nonprofit organizations, participating in Paralympics or the Invictus Games, just doing amazing things every single day. And, I thought, man, I'd really gotten to these representatives. I've really told them a motivational story. And afterwards, it became very political because they all knew that I was a candidate for Congress, and depending on the side of the aisle they were on, they were either going to pigeonhole me or they were going to vet me. So they asked me questions on everything from immigration to Second Amendment to the trillion-dollar welfare state, you name it. And after I answered some questions on the trillion-dollar welfare state, I had probably one of the most disturbing questions from a Democratic member of Congress that I'd ever heard in my life. And this man says to me, Brian, you were in our highest level of special operations. Your friend missing 3 limbs, he was a Green Beret. Your friend that you told us about missing 4 limbs, he served alongside the Navy SEALs. You guys are stronger and tougher than the average American. We can't expect the way that you guys recovered. We can't expect that from every American out there. And to hear a sitting member of Congress, somebody that's supposed to be a leader of our country, after I just told him about friends of mine missing 3 and 4 limbs that are still out there pushing the limits every single day, for him to tell me that there's people with an excuse to say, poor me, that person either never knew who we are as Americans or simply wants to ignore who we are as Americans. And that's what we have to fight against, in my opinion, above all, is those that are going to tell us that we can't just so they can garner more power for themselves. When I know for a fact, men like you and myself and so many other great patriots out there, we know that the reality is that we can. And the only thing that gets in our way is our minds or our government or somebody else that's going to tell us that we can't. And that's it. And that's what we got to fight against. Those that are out there in the government telling us we can't.
Quickly tell us, how's it looking in your district?
It's looking really well. I am essentially in a statistical tie in my race, maybe 1 percentage point ahead of this woman that I'm running against, and we're pretty much well ahead the rest of the pack. So the race is looking really well. But like I said, I'm going to be in a dogfight in it right up until the end.
All right, Brian Mast, as you know, I strongly endorse you. I hope my audience will really support you as well. Mastforcongress.com, MASTforcongress.com. If you're in the 18th Congressional District, voting starts August 20th. Jump in. Do all you can. Help this man. We need him in Congress. Good luck. God bless to you and your family, my friend.
God bless, sir.
All right, take care.